Well, today I'm going to make an old recipe that is very simple but tasty. I have a neighbor that loves my homemade stuffing, and it's simple. You can find my stuffing recipe because the stuffing is what we're going to put underneath our chicken, you'll see. And what I've done here is I've already gone ahead and made up my celery, my onion, my apple, and I put in fresh herbs. You want to put in rosemary, sage, and thyme. Yep, that's what you want to put in your stuffing. And what I did here is I have cubed bread cubes that I had bought. I did not make my own. You can if you wish. This is just the traditional way that I've always grown up making stuffed chicken breast. And I know the stuffed chicken breast sounds like, ooh, we've got some nice boneless chicken breasts and we're going to stuff it that way like I normally would, but this is not. This is going to be laying underneath the chicken, because I'm going to use not boneless, I'm using the bone-in chicken. This smells wonderful. If you could smell it, it smells like Thanksgiving. And I put just a little bit of sherry into my stuffing when I make my stuffing. I like to use, maybe a little quarter of a cup or less. And then I have my chicken stock here, and we're going to just wet. I've got about 3 cups. We want to wet it down really, really good. So we'll stir this all together. Oh, that smells so good. You want it pretty wet. A little bit more. So about 2 to 3 cups. There, that looks good. Okie dokie. There we go. Got a nice moist stuffing. And let me tell you, go to my website so you can have the recipe for my stuffing. Because it really, really does make a difference when you take the time to saute the apples with the celery, with all the onion. Trust me, it is so worth it, folks. Get some salt and pepper. Probably should have peppered that side too. We're just salt and peppering our chicken. Nothing fancy. The flavor is in the chicken itself. You buy a good quality chicken, and I'll tell you, the juices just flow right down on top of your stuffing that we are going to put under. Right now, we're going to take, let's see, I'm going to do it over here so you could see better. Okay, and I'm going to just kind of, now this hand I touched with the chicken. You want to always make sure that you have one hand that you've touched with the chicken. So I'm just going to lay this on top here like a spoon, a good spoonful. Actually, I got to use both hands now. So we want a nice healthy amount of stuffing. Just lay it right in there under that breast. Hold it, flip it over, lay it in a buttered baking dish. Now, I like a buttered baking dish because I think the butter, it just gives it another time where you can put our ingredient. Because remember, if you know how I cooked my stuffing, if you go on my site, you'll see that I used butter to saute everything in. There, just flip it right over. And these were so big that I got from my butcher that my husband and I are probably going to have to share one, even though he doesn't always like to share. He will. These are huge. try to cut down the older we get. You don't need as much food. I'm hoping I can fit that in there. I think what I might do is just stick it in my other dish. I'm gonna stop what I'm doing, push this little guy down so that there's plenty of room in there. And I'm gonna take my other dish that I didn't butter just in case I didn't need it, but I do. We're gonna butter it at the bottom, pick up this guy over here and lay him down, stuffing side down. And our last little, I should say big, chicken breast we're gonna put right here. Stuff that little guy and all that. That's a lot of stuffing per person, but oh, it's so yummy. There we go. Push it together and just lay it in your baking dish. Now, gotta wash my hands. Get ready for the next covering of our dish. And I have some tin foil over here that I'm going to use to cover my, you know what, before I do that actually, I am going to put just a wee bit more butter. Whoops. I'm just going to lay just a little bit of butter on the tops of each of our chicken breasts. And then we're going to stick it into a preheated oven of 350 degrees, 375, depending how well your oven cooks. But 350 degrees, we're going to cover it for about 20-25 minutes, because then we're going to uncover it after that. There we go. And with our extra stuffing, you're probably thinking, that's a lot of stuffing to make. Well, you're right, it is. What I'm going to do, let's just cover these up. What I like to do with the extra stuffing, I think I need to put it this way, is put it in another separate dish, buttered dish, and bake it. Now you want to bake it along with these guys, and then you could stick it in your freezer after you've baked it and then fold it down so that when you want to have a good meal, or if you want to make a nice meal to bring over to somebody, that's all you have to do is whip the stuffing out of your freezer and you've got a good side dish for somebody in the middle of the week who's maybe under the weather like my neighbors are. And it's always nice to bring them a little taste of Thanksgiving Day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to butter. I have some round foil pans. I'm going to butter those, maybe 2 of them, put them in there, cook them probably 20 minutes, 25. You don't have to cook it all the way through, but you do want to cook it because there might be a chance we did get some chicken residue in there and we don't want to worry about salmonella. So I'll tell you what, stay tuned. We'll come back and see what our chicken looks like after it's baked. Well, my stuffed chicken breasts have been baking in my oven at 375 for about 45 minutes. I started with them covered with the aluminum foil, as you remember, and that was about maybe 20-25 minutes, and then I uncovered it the rest of the time. And these over here, remember I had all that good stuffing left over, so I got 2. I've made my stuffed chicken breast with the nice homemade bread stuffing that I have. It's a totally vegetarian bread stuffing, and it was stuffed underneath my chicken breast. And what I did, because it's the next day, is I've stuck the chicken breast into this. See, the stuffing is all underneath. Look how nice that looks. And it's all ready to go. I made some fresh asparagus with butter and lemon, put it in a microwavable container that comes with a lid, and it's all ready to bring to somebody in need, an older person or whoever. So what I want to really address is that these are cold now. When I made the chicken, I buttered these pans. These are just cake pans, 8-inch round. They're so cheap and convenient because I put the leftover stuffing, as I made this big bowl of stuffing, I stuffed like 4 chicken breasts. This is what's left over for a friend. And then what I did here is I put the rest of the stuffing into my buttered baking pans, and I covered them, and I had baked them in the oven with the chicken for about 25 minutes because you don't want the idea of salmonella to have perforated through any possibility through your meal, through your food. So now what I would suggest you do, this is what I do, it's just a thought, is I get some aluminum foil and I make a nice tight seal. You want to get that all the way around your edge here. Squish it down. The nice thing about a foil pan, it's very flexible and you can really squeeze the air out using your foil. And I've already labeled it and dated it, and I have a gallon size freezing bag that you also can label. I like to make sure everything is well labeled. Maybe it's the nurse in me always having to know what's in everything and how much to give, but seriously, it's a good idea. And now, because it's already been cold in my fridge one day, I can stick this in my freezer for any time I want to pull out a nice, this will serve 4 people, believe it or not. These are good 4 individual servings. If you want to take it out for a day when you want to taste Thanksgiving because of all those herbs, I put the sage, the rosemary, the thyme, just take it out for a nice chicken dinner or turkey dinner through the week, or take it out, thaw it out, and warm it up to give away to a friend that's not feeling so good, and bring them a wonderful dish of your chicken breast with some fresh vegetables. So if you would like to get this information, go to my website, memorableFoodDishes.com.